Yeah. No, I got after some sergeant. When I was in Vietnam, I got after the sergeant. Because it's supposed to drain down. You know, the jet fuel and he started signing. I didn't get that. So I didn't chew him out. He was higher than I was. They came back and shot me and said,
I'm gonna bring yours up right after.
so, you know, they kept me on for black.
It looks like it's eye tapping.
They put me in, to work. Higher rank. Here I am doing stab checks. Yeah, my reputation covered another race of B-52. Yeah, yeah, I know.
Let's machine.
Oh. This thing tries to get worn no matter what. This thing tries to get worn no matter what.
Bill called me screwed on this. Disconnecting it for the camera.
Alright, y'all ready to get started? Are we live? We're all?
So, how they do all the time.
Alright, I heard that.
You'll have to fill me in a little bit, okay? Fill me in a little bit.
We good to go?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, thank y'all for coming here tonight. My name is Clayton Perry. I'm the city councilman here for District 10, and we've got this issue here of Old O'Connor Road that we've been looking at now for the last several years about what we could do to, could we keep this open or does it have to be closed? We've got representatives here from Union Pacific, and we've got Public Works here also that have been working together as to what we can do with that railroad crossing right there. So I'm really going to turn this over to them tonight, and if you have questions, comments, concerns, now's the time to talk about that. We're also live streaming this, and it's going to be on my Facebook page for a couple of days for people to make comments on as well. But I hope you all listen very carefully about what the issues are with this crossing, and let's see what that presentation is. And this is actually the second public meeting that we're having on this particular crossing, and let's get this started with. So I want to introduce Mark Jacobson here, who's going to kind of lead us through this from the city Public Works Department side of it. Mark, come on up.
Thank you very much, Councilman.
And Mark, make sure you stand right in front of that fire extinguisher.
Right in front of
So
the
everyone
fire.
can see you. Yep.
Okay.
There you go.
Am I good? Okay. Well, good evening. My name is Mark Jacobson. I'm with the Public Works Department for the City of San Antonio, and I have a couple of colleagues here also with the Public Works Department in case some questions come up here that can help me out with trying to answer those. And we're going to provide some information about the Old O'Connor Road bridge, or underpass really, and how the replacement of the bridge there is going to affect that crossing. And so we're going to begin actually with a presentation from Union Pacific to discuss what's going to be going on there with the bridge. And then I'm going to come back and discuss some of the impacts that the closure will have and how we're going to do some of the mitigation that's planned for that. So we'll get started first. I'm going to introduce Raquel Espinosa, who is with Union Pacific, to talk about the bridge and what's going to happen there.
Thank you, Mark. Am I in the right spot? I have to be in front of the, okay. Are we good? Okay, great. So as Mark mentioned, my name is Raquel Espinosa, and I work in public affairs for Union Pacific Railroad. began in this position about a year ago, but I've been with the company 13 years. I'm here with my colleague, Kevin Lewis, who works for our bridge department. Both he and I are based here in San Antonio. So with that, I thank you for being here and for the opportunity to share some background and talk about how we're going to be moving forward at Old O'Connor Road. But first, I wanted to just give you a little bit of information about our company. I know you see our trains out and about every day, but from cars to computers, Union Pacific moves the goods that you and I use every day. From auto parts to toys, Nike shoes, lumber, you name it, we move it. Everything in this room and everything in your home moved on a train at some point in time. So we certainly do what we can to do our job safely and responsibly. And one of the benefits of moving goods by rail is that it takes about 300 trucks to move the same amount of freight as one train. So this is a good picture of Union Pacific. We operate in 23 states west of the Mississippi River. We're the only railroad to serve all rail gateways to Mexico, and you'll see there that we also serve a lot of the ports across our system. And while we're very much an American company, about between 30 and 40% of our shipments have an international component, meaning they either originated or will terminate in another country. So we basically operate what is a steel highway that has over 32,000 miles. And so it's an expensive proposition when you look at having to keep the railroad running. And so this year we will have spent $2.9 billion in our programs that ensure that trains are operating safely and that we're serving our customers and meeting their needs. I'll tell you what, the railroad has operated for over 100 years, and today, just like everyone expects their shipment to arrive at their door the next day, our customers are now expecting their shipments to arrive, and we're doing everything we can to ensure that those shipments arrive when we promised. So 62% of those funds are spent on maintaining our rail infrastructure. So about almost $1.8 million are spent on projects that include replacing railroad ties, replacing rail, replacing bridges, and other projects that touch our daily operations. You'll see there that we've got other buckets that we invest in, obviously making sure that we're purchasing equipment that it takes to run the railroad. Also expanding facilities as customers grow, they outgrow our infrastructure, and we have to maintain what we need to do above and beyond maintaining, but also expanding our capacity to ensure that we can accommodate that growth. And then of course you'll see there we invest quite a bit in technology, which includes positive train control, and that is a system that it was built to prevent train-to-train collisions. So we have a lot of technology on the railroad, and of course it's all geared toward serving customers, but fundamentally we want to operate safely. Union Pacific's goal is always to ensure that our employees go home safely and that we're operating safely in the communities that we serve. A lot of people see the railroad tracks and think that they haven't changed since they began. We know the pictures that we've seen in our history books, and many people think that we're just an antiquated form of transportation. But actually, railroad lines are technological runways that are outfitted with lasers and sensors that help ensure that we are made aware of potential issues that could lead to an accident, allowing us to go in and replace infrastructure as needed to ensure that we're operating safely. Our track department, our bridge department, for the most part, technology touches everyone in our company. And so we have vehicles like these that go over the track, and other pieces of technology that ensure that the rails are built, according to the topography, and with technology that allows us to see beyond the naked eye to see if there are any issues, say, within the rail that may pose a threat. And so we're continue developing new technologies with the intent of making sure that we're operating safely across our communities. So we're all here to talk about the bridge at Old O'Connor Road. It was built originally in 1881 and reconstructed in the 1950s, built to withstand rail operations for decades. Now, I do want to point out that it's not like we built it and haven't maintained it. The rail and the ties have been replaced through the years, and the track department inspects these tracks every other day. The number of inspections go up if we're going into weather that is too hot or too cold, because that can make the rails expand and contract. So we certainly are looking at this bridge, and we're constantly looking at it to ensure that we're maintaining it properly. So currently, it provides access for vehicles and pedestrians. And you'll see here that we clearly, the road authority has clearly marked it as a low clearance overpass or bridge. And so that is sort of what the basics are for this rail bridge. What you may or may not know about Old O'Connor is that it has been hit numerous times by trucks that do not fit. So that is a big concern for Union Pacific. And since June of 2011, it's been hit 20 times. And then it was recently hit about 2 weeks ago. So that would mean that the Old O'Connor Rail Bridge was hit by a truck twice this year, which is an improvement from last year when it was hit 4 times. And these are numbers of incidents that we are aware of, those that we know about, because many times drivers will hit the bridge with the large truck and leave the scene, and we're not even made aware until a track inspector goes over the rails and realizes that the track is misaligned, and we look underneath and there's clearly debris of a driver that was trying to get through and hit the bridge. So that is a huge concern for Union Pacific. It's something that as we look at this picture, people might think, okay, well, the bridge is stuck under the rail line. That's not good. But I would like to share the perspective from the railroad. In this picture, you'll see that there's a stopped train. Imagine being part of the train crew that was operating that train. And every train has a conductor and an engineer inside the locomotive. The crew basically came around a curve, and then they realized that the track was misaligned, and the train engineer put the train into emergency. That is something that we try to avoid. We'll do it when there's an emergency, but in this case, that move could have resulted in a derailment. Just the fact that they had affected the infrastructure is not good. Even if this train crew hadn't seen it, the next one, whenever the next crew came, it would have presented a problem. So it's something that is something that we want to see a stop to. And so that is the reason why Union Pacific has been working with the city, and we appreciate Councilman Perry's support and help in changing this. So Union Pacific will be replacing the bridge, and will start work January 3rd. It'll be built from concrete and steel, and of course, it will eliminate the possibility of a truck hitting that bridge. Unfortunately, it is going to eliminate vehicular access for other drivers, and that loss is not lost with Union Pacific. We appreciate your patience in helping us ensure that we're operating our trains safely. The access for pedestrians will be maintained, and it'll take us about 2 months to construct the rail bridge. So the total goal of Union Pacific is for us to have 0 bridge strikes. And so we believe that this plan will help ensure that that does not happen. So again, the end game is to ensure that we eliminate these serious safety risks and ensure that we are operating trains safely for our employees, for the community, everyone who lives or works around this area. And so we thank you for that, and that concludes my part of the presentation, and I'll turn it over to Mark unless...
Yeah, I think we'll save the questions to the end, and that way, because maybe I'll answer some in my part, and then we'll have the questions.
Okay.
I just wanted to think that with the new bridge was gonna get, it was deeper, right? Did we not?
Yes, my apologies, yes. So the new bridge will decrease the clearance by 2 feet. And so that's where it'll make it a challenge for trucks. They just basically would not be able to get through. And that was a key detail, and thank you for pointing that out.
We all appreciate why you're doing it, and I don't think that's the big issue. It's the city's fact that they're not gonna make the access safe on the alternate route that I think that bothers a lot of us. So thank you for your presentation. Appreciate your perspective.
Right.
And
Well, we
that's
understand.
what we're here to talk about.
Maybe Mark
I
can...
understand their side, I mean, I see it, I understand it completely. But why can't they build this up bridge a little bit higher and still make it accessible?
Well, let's go through the city's presentation, and then I think after that, we'll be able to answer some of those questions.
But there's other things besides that.
All right, well, thank you, Raquel, for that. And now let's talk about the impacts that closing the roadway is gonna have on the surrounding network and the mitigation that we had planned. So again, there's the bridge that we're talking about. So right now, we collected data, we recollected data in 2021. We had some older data that we had used previously. And what we have found is that in the southbound direction in a typical day going underneath the bridge, we have about 460, a little over 460 vehicles on Old O'Connor Road. And northbound, again, this is going to be going underneath the bridge. We have about a little under 580 vehicles each day going underneath the bridge. So closing that underpass, these are the vehicles that would be impacted by that closure. It's roughly 50 to 60 vehicles in the peak period is what we're looking at. So, of course, the main alternate route is O'Connor Road, which has an overpass that goes over both Weidner Road as well as the railroad tracks. And by contrast, you can see that roadway is carrying over 20,000 vehicles a day. So, you know, most of the vehicles that are going through this area are using O'Connor Road. So the key thing with closing off the roadway underneath the bridge is that all the properties in the area will still maintain their access to Old O'Connor Road. So that's the businesses here that are on the north side of the tracks, as well as there's some properties on this side of Old O'Connor, and then of course in the neighborhood off of Old O'Connor. The existing intersection at Old O'Connor and Lookout and Weidner would become a T intersection. So vehicles that are coming down Old O'Connor this way, they could turn left or right to go up Lookout or down Weidner. They just wouldn't be able to continue underneath the bridge. Again, the alternate route that exists is O'Connor Road to get across, and the north side of Old O'Connor would just dead end at the tracks. So you would still be able to access this property off of Old O'Connor, but you would not be able to go across the tracks in a vehicle. So as part of our mitigation plan, what we're looking at doing is adding a traffic signal at the southern intersection of Old O'Connor and O'Connor Road. And, you know, the timing is going to be slightly behind the closure of the roadway because, as Raquel mentioned, the bridge closure is taking place in January. But what we're working to do is we're going to build a traffic signal at this intersection as quickly as we can. And what that means is we're going to utilize wood poles and things to get that signal built as quickly as possible. And then over time, in the next couple of years, we'll upgrade that signal to the more permanent steel poles and things like that at that intersection. But in order for us to have built it that way in the first place, it would have taken us much longer. So we want to go with this approach that's going to have that signal there as quickly as possible.
What?
So you guys have had several years to do that,
To build the main signal, yes. Mhm.
That's gotta be from Old O'Connor Road to the new.
That's where we want it to
the
be,
new-
is to cross.
You put a signal?
Right, it's at,
Okay.
the signal's
Just the
gigantic in this
opposite-
picture.
Just the
but-
opposite end of Old O'Connor?
Right, where Old O'Connor right now tees into O'Connor Road, south
Because
of the
you know
bridge.
what? See, well, maybe I'll get ahead. You see, without a signal, you know, to go out, when you come the opposite way, you get O'Connor, that traffic is so bad, you can't drive because many of my people.
So you guys gonna put a signal up there, like, what, a year later? I don't understand that. What's the time frame? You said it's gonna be a bit delayed. You've had, so it closes January 2022, and then what, 5 months, 6 months later, you're gonna have a signal up there?
Right, that's our intention.
So you're gonna wait for that many accidents to occur before you get a signal up there? It's nice of you. You don't have to comment on that, that's just.
But
nice
you
of
know, it's dangerous because people, when you don't have hardly any distance between that signal.
It's just,
Huh?
it's
You
just
know,
people that don't live there, that don't understand.
They don't
it,
understand
care.
it.
It's okay, let the
And-
man go on, he doesn't care. Go ahead.
We can come back and discuss that further.
That's bad.
The, as was mentioned, what we're going to be maintaining pedestrian and bicycle access rights underneath the bridge. So right now, you know, this is just a depiction of what that could look like, but obviously a project there would be something that's part of a more cohesive project for bicycles and pedestrians in the area, not just necessarily the crossing underneath the overpass. This is what the view of that could potentially look like from the Weidner Lookout location.
You're going, put more carbon monoxide into the air.
So a lot of the questions I'm sure are going to be, well, why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? And so wanted to let you know we did look at several different options to address this location. You know, one option is you'd have to elevate the entire intersection in order to maintain access for Old O'Connor, which would essentially be access over the railroad track, similar to what we have for O'Connor. The other key piece with this is it would be looking to address some of the drainage issues in the area. But you can see from the price tag, it's a very expensive cost, $43 million, especially when you take into account the amount of vehicles that would be addressing at that crossing. Again, I know another concern that has been brought up in this area is the drainage during storms. And our stormwater folks have looked at different projects of how can we help alleviate some of the flooding in this area. And, you know, one of the projects that had been looked at was, you know, basically an underground drainage tunnel, again with a very high price tag. And even at that price, it would help the flooding on this side of the tracks, but it would not actually help the where that underpass was on the north side of the tracks. It would only be for this side of the tracks.
You see that area right there where the blue line ends?
Over here?
Yeah,
Up here?
Yeah. See that area right there? I think you're gonna have like a huge, just FYI, I think you're gonna have a huge homeless encampment there eventually.
What'd you say?
You're gonna have a huge homeless encampment there eventually, because that whole area is blocked off and nobody goes that way. Anyway, go on.
And, you know, the last thing is, and I think we were kind of discussing this, is, well, what about, you know, an elevated railroad bridge? And one of the things to consider is that, you know, the rails, they're not able to go at the grades, change grade, like we can with the, plus the fact that we have to maintain grade for the railroad underneath this existing Old O'Connor Bridge. And so when we start talking about trying to change the grades in this area, it could quickly balloon into a very, very large project. And so those are some of the things that we did look at so that we could understand the magnitude of what we would have to deal with to, again, maintain access, deal with some of the flooding issues. But in the end, we recognize, as the railroad presented their reasoning for having to rebuild that bridge and what impact it's going to have to the crossing, the traffic signal at this point was the most, the quickest option that we had to try to provide some mitigation for that closure. So that's really all the information that we had prepared. So, you know, now would be a good time for us to have a discussion and see, you know, talk about some of the issues that you have raised.
I really just wish
If
you
you're gonna have a question or a comment, make sure you speak really loud or go up and stand next to that camera where people in the audience can hear this as well.
I can talk loud. So I just really wish you would delay the implementation of the blocking until you get that light up. I just think it's a terrible idea to put people's lives at risk for that just because you guys didn't plan in time. It's so you're gonna have a bunch of accidents there first, and then you're gonna go, oh yeah, well we do know it's a problem. We'll get to it eventually. It just seems irresponsible. I understand the UP's perspective. I got it. It's expensive to do anything else. I understand the city of San Antonio's perspective. It's expensive to do anything else. But you know what? All those accidents you're gonna have there, because guess what? That extra 1,000 people that you had cross underneath it, they're gonna be on that road too. So now you're going up to 21,000, and I don't know why you can't at least put the light up first and then close it off. I know there's plans and logistics and the financing and all that, but it just seems like you're gonna end up using all your police time financing to put up with the accidents and moving accidents, and the road closures are gonna occur because people are backed up there. And it just seems shameful to me. I'm sorry to say that, but I've been to this I went to the meeting last time, and I understood the perspective back then. The people that were in the room then presented the same issue, and it's still, oh yeah, we hear you, okay, and that's all I'm hearing. And it's just like, it's just very frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly understand the frustration. I'm not sure that we can do much with the time difference. We will certainly, you know, work on that. I mean, the alternate route that's available is also to go down Weidner down to
I
Worthwhile
get
Park.
that. Yeah. But you know what? There are businesses there that are going to use that. There are people that live in those neighborhoods that are going to use that. And you can say all you want about the detour signs, but people are still going to try to get up there, and you've got a place the big trucks that cross from the other side of the road, and it's just fine. It's just irresponsible. That's all. You can't convince me else.
I just think it's gonna create a lot of traffic. It's gonna create more than you think. And I understand, they gotta have a grade, the engine, locomotives, they gotta have a certain amount of horsepower, they cut it by weight, distance, I know all those fractional things that they're talking about, and I understand that. But on the other hand, you see, if you wanna do all that, that's great. But you need a signal, that O'Connor Road that goes up on the, or goes around the corner like that. See, you don't live over there, but you know what? Them people drive so fast around that corner. And they already drive, I think if you look at the police statistics, and you look it up, you're gonna find out that they give out a lot of speeding tickets. And then for a while, but you ain't got much of a chance when them people come around the corner. And I don't know what it is, but they love to pick up that speed. And then there you go, you have an accident. So the safest route, most of my neighbors live in that little place off of Old O'Connor and
Okay.
Command Post.
Over here.
Yeah. And it's almost impossible to get on O'Connor Road the other way,
To go this way on
to go
O'Connor?
that way. It's easier, and it's easier to go to the businesses, to go to the store. People, if they'll start driving this way, they'll go to Leonhardt, right? You know where Leonhardt is?
Yes.
Well, you know, they got a school up there, right? Well, that's gonna cause more traffic for people to go that way, because they wanna get back and get over that way. And sure, they can use that way, but you know what? A lot of people don't like to use that road because it's bad. It's dangerous. You gotta go out there and drive yourself a few times, you can find out how bad that road is a busy part of the day.
Which road are you talking about, Weidner?
Right? I know, I'm talking about.
Over here.
Crossing.
Get on Old O'Connor Road. You know where Command Post is?
Right.
Okay, when you go down, and you try to get on O'Connor Road, then you can't hardly get on that road.
If you're trying to make a left there during rush hour traffic,
You're dead.
it's a death sentence.
Even a right.
You know what, you're dead meat.
Well,
But
just,
a left with the grade that we have coming up and going down, you hardly can see these cars before they're on top of you already.
That's
Because
it.
as soon as that light turns green, they're punching the gas, they're upwards of 50, 55 miles an hour before they.
cars coming this way, cut over the bridge.
From the crossroads up there.
Okay.
Yeah, that way, yeah.
So just to be clear, this is where the traffic signal is going to go.
But when?
But later, after
But the
it's
fact,
closed.
we have no problem with the railroad, we understand it, but for one, it's a 4-lane road, there's no protected left arrow or left turn lane.
That's it.
So, I mean, I've almost been rear-ended like 10, 15 times with nobody paying attention. I mean, you hear those brakes just lighten up, you're like, okay, you're just waiting for the impact.
Man, you gotta keep looking at your back.
And I mean,
door.
one study that's missing here is the amount of accidents that we've had here. That intersection right there alone, we just had a fatality, a month ago at least? A lady on a motorcycle killed by a hit and run driver. So I mean, there's no statistics there as far as how many accidents we've had in that one intersection alone. When that bridge freezes, we use that access there to go underneath it.
That's right.
Because you can't get to Nacogdoches via that bridge when it's frozen over.
Emergency vehicles.
I mean, I'm not opposed to the railroad, I understand their side, but I just wish that the city has essentially worked on a better solution for us. Because right now, all we're doing is just setting up for failure for any of the residents that are on that side, or use that area to get around.
Then you got
Because I know that everybody uses, you know, if instead of opposed to making that left, they always go right under the bridge to the other side because it's safer. And the same with me. Me and my wife, we're up at the top end of Old O'Connor. We always make the left there. Now, it's still not safe because we've almost been rear-ended there as well, but because of the distance, there's a better chance of them seeing you making that left turn to get and go under and then go back, you know, go home. Versus on the other side of the bridge where they're coming around the corner, not paying attention, and
They don't care.
essentially you're gonna get nailed on either side, because on that side as well, there's a curve. And if there's a 5 o'clock rush hour, you got that traffic backed up, you cannot see the cars that are coming over the other side.
It's crazy.
It's just a hard blind spot, and to try to make a successful left turn without getting T-boned, I mean, there's gonna be a lot of people wanting answers when we're having to clean up so many accidents on that one side.
You have all your police budget going to being off that area instead of saving any money.
Well, I think this is all very good feedback, and a lot of the information that you were providing as far as like the sight distance and the concerns about left turns, we are aware of those issues, and we're going to incorporate some signage and things that can be built into the traffic signal to help alert motorists, especially like when the light is yellow or
They
red.
don't pay no attention.
That's an unfortunate truth.
See, you need
There are a few that do.
You need a regular red and green light.
There will be a red and green light
But when?
at this location, as soon as we can get one installed there.
Well, and that's,
Before,
after that, you
is
should
it
put,
going
that's
to be
when you should
before
block
or
them out.
after?
Well, at this point right now, it will be after the construction is taking place for the railroad.
Genius.
Temporary going to be red, yellow, and green.
Yes.
Just genius. Genius of you guys.
The other thing I have questions about is, we have a hardcore homeless issue going on in that whole ditch area. And so when this bridge is closed, I understand y'all are gonna make it for pedestrians and bikes, which is understandable, but what's to say that now with the less traffic rolling through there, that's not all just set up as one big homeless encampment?
They're right behind.
Because
me.
there's a power, where those power poles are on the other side of that bridge, there's a big old homeless encampment over there. So,
I think you're just gonna have a big old homeless campus up there too. Nobody's gonna go down that road.
I live I live in that subdivision off Old O'Connor Road. Command post, behind me, there's 35, 40 acres. And there's a lot of homeless people living back there.
Okay, let's stay on task here about the road.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, the homeless situation, if you see an encampment, I don't know that that's ever been reported to us. Call 311. Call 311. That's gonna be my response every time. If it does not get reported, it doesn't get fixed. So, you got to remember, call 311. And then if you don't see any action on it in a reasonable amount of time, then call my office with that reference number, the 311 reference number, and you get one on every one of the calls. Call us, and we'll follow up and get some action going on.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Really, that's not a big issue with me. The big issue is this thing here, traffic.
Well, I will work with Public Works, and we'll pull out every stop we can to try to get that light put up.
Yeah, because.
And as soon as we can, even during construction of the closure there,
You put a four-way
we'll
stop.
get it done as quickly as possible.
You put a four-way stop.
Well, a traffic light system, therefore, I can't see putting up a four-way stop. A traffic light system is the only way we can do that with warning signs, like Mark said, that, hey, there's a traffic light system. Until people get used to it, yeah, it's gonna be tough. We're not gonna go back and rebuild Old Connor Road, that bridge going over the railroad. It's just, that will never, ever get done.
What was that?
So people in these areas that live in those areas, they need to obey the traffic laws, and I'll get the police out there again to do some more traffic management. We've got speed wagons that measure speeds along there, and also patrolmen that we can issue tickets along there to try to help until we get those traffic lights put up. But we will expedite everything we can to get those traffic lights put up. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wonder, why can't they slow the traffic down? Coming around that bend, like when they come off, from the signals this way?
Well, the speed limit is, what is it, 40 going around there? I guarantee you that people are going 60, 65 around there.
I know they are.
You can lower the speed limit to 30, but what are they gonna do? They're gonna still go 60 miles an hour. So until you change people's mentalities about obeying the traffic laws, you're not gonna do any good.
Guys can make
Yes,
more
I
money
can
off
put
of
out
tickets.
more policemen out there, but, you're not gonna catch every person that's going down there speeding on that road. So my guess is that, you know, a lot of people that live in all these neighborhoods are rushing to get home or rushing to get to work, and that's who's speeding along that road. If you see something, say something. And that means reporting it to the police also. If you get a license plate number, call it in.
When 35 gets backed up, a lot of them use that road too to get.
Yeah, they
around
do,
35.
Yeah, well, that is a non-argument also, because I can go to every street in District 10, and I'll show you bumper to bumper traffic anywhere you go at 8 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock in the evening,
My
every day.
sincere apologies if you think I'm arguing with you.
No, I'm not arguing, I'm
I'm just making a comment.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to argue or anything, I'm just saying, these are problems that we have all over District 10. Please use 311, call my office, we'll be happy to help, that's what we're here for. And this, a lot of different issues on this. We're trying to get this done and get this bridge replaced.
Yeah, it's just,
Sounds like
you need a signal, you need a signal. You gotta have a signal.
We'll work to get that done as soon as possible.
Is that gonna be on the stop and go signal?
No, it's a regular signal light. Red, yellow,
That's what I
green.
mean.
Yeah,
Okay. You gotta have something when you play something. There's an action and then there's always a reaction. That's great.
I do have a question online. I don't know if one of you two can help me answer that. It's, why was the decision made to reduce the overpass height to 9 feet 6? Are there some statistics that indicate strikes will be reduced to 0 or near 0 if it's reduced to that height? You can just, to the camera. Yes.
I say this.
It's pretty much just
So
having to go.
Kevin Lewis
down,
is
down,
with our bridge department,
down
and he
Weaver.
can explain why, the clearance is being reduced, in terms of topography and geometry.
Yeah, so the limitations with the geography that we have to comply with for the safe operation of the trains doesn't allow us to make that raise. And so with the new standard of the bridge in 2021, this is the style and this is the standard of bridges that we go with, and it has a lower bottom chord. It has, it's a better bridge than what we have in place now, and that's why we're replacing the existing structure with the new bridge.
They also
Hopefully
wanted to
that-
know if this was being paid for by the new federal infrastructure bill.
I can't speak to any of that.
Before we shift gears, isn't there something about sort of inclines and?
Yeah, so with the geography, because you have a crossing on this end, and then you have the overpass on this end, you have power lines, and then you have a curve. With those limitations, it won't allow us to make the elevation change in the track structure to accommodate the raise that would be required to bring up that bottom chord of the new structure compared to the old structure. The old structure is just not feasible anymore, and that's why we're having to go with that new structure. It has the bottom, it has a reduced clearance as a result of the geography.
And this is not paid for through the infrastructure funds that the new administration is making available. Union Pacific is investing about $960,000 to reconstruct this bridge. We fully fund all of our maintenance. We receive no funds from the government, so the replacement is fully funded by Union Pacific.
Anything else for me while I'm here? Thank you all for your time. I appreciate y'all.
No other questions online? Any other questions in the room? Let me put my contact information up here one more time, so that if you do have questions after the meeting, feel free to email or call. As Councilman said, if there are issues out there with the traffic, with anything else you see, the homeless and whatnot, call 311 to report that. And then 311 gets that information to the appropriate department in the city so we can address that.
All right. I want to thank Mark and Union Pacific folks for coming out here and talking a little bit about this. This is not an easy project. It's not easy on anybody, but it's something that needs to be done. We've got an old wooden bridge structure that needs to be replaced with a modern bridge up to their standard. God forbid anything would happen to that bridge when we have some hazardous materials or anything like that going over that bridge. It would not support that weight. So this is a tough one to close that road. We will do everything to get that traffic light set up and operational, even before that starts. I know they're starting as soon. When do you actually look at closing the road for this job?
Bridge construction will start in the first quarter. So right now the scheduled date is June the 2nd and June the 3rd. January, I'm sorry. January the 3rd.
Okay, so we'll work to get those lights up, and even if we can't get those, is there any, and I've seen them around town in different construction projects where they have temporary lights set up for controlling traffic. Is that something that we could look at as well?
We'll look at the various options to see what we can do that would be the fastest.
Okay, but the end game is to put up permanent traffic lights, with the metal poles and hanging out over the roads, that kind of thing. So that's our end goal. So Union Pacific is actually putting some money towards the traffic lights to get these temporary ones up as quickly as possible, and we'll get something up quickly. I can't give you an exact date, but maybe we could look at these. I don't know if y'all have seen them before. They're out on road construction projects where they're on stanchions basically to control the traffic during construction. Maybe we can incorporate something like that here also until we get the poles and lights set up for that area as well. So, is there any other questions for me? We've been looking at this for how long now, Raquel? 3 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, for about 3 years now, and we're kind of at the end here about studying it and coming up with, what alternatives there are for this as well. So, if y'all have any other questions, give my office a call. What's a good number, Paul?
Use 210-207-0999.
Okay.
And Jarvis is gonna pass a piece of paper around, if y'all can put your names on there.
210-207
0999.
0999. So if you have any questions or comments for me, give that number a call and talk to one of my staff, and we'll help you wherever we can. As far as speeders and homeless and all those other issues, 311. Call that in, and if you don't get a response in a reasonable amount of time, give our office a call again with that reference number from 311.
Sir, we're going to be on their information. We'll make sure we keep them.
Okay. All right. Great. So we'll take down those. All of you out there in TV land, give us that same information if you want to get updates on this. And we'll be putting out updates through my newsletter and my social media as to what's going on with this road, when, and updates on this whole thing. So we'll be happy to provide that information. Any last comments?
Yeah, I want to thank you guys for getting my street fixed up. We're all getting new pavement over there off of Command Post and that.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for new streets, Gabriella, Public Works. Thank y'all very much for getting a new street down there by the command post.
Yeah, oh, yeah, we need that for a long time.
Yep,
I called your
absolutely.
office a few years back.
Okay. Well, see, we listen. We listen. All right, great. Well, thank y'all very much. Appreciate y'all, and we'll keep you updated as to what's happening and when, and what to expect over there. Thank y'all very much. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you, Councilman Perry, for your time.
Yeah.
Trying to,
I was just speaking loud a while ago. I hope the other gentleman wasn't offended, where they could hear me on the telephone over there, or not telephone. Yeah. Video.